what does day one of that look like?
Okay, so day one of that, I'm reading in my Bible the love chapter. Everybody gets it read at their wedding. Love is patient, love is kind. Love does not insist upon its own way. Remember, God's called me to love. Okay, that's what he's called me to do. And then I read that and I go, uh, okay, wait a minute. I'm not feeling patient. I'm not feeling kind. I'm not feeling any of that. So I can't let my feelings lead me. I have to let that truth lead me. So, I mean, God's big enough to handle it. I just take it out. I mean, I'm just like, I am angry. I am really, really angry. And I work through that with him. And I think about the fact that my God was betrayed. He knows what this feels like. I mean, Jesus was like sold out for 30 pieces of silver. He knows what this feels like. So so my faith is becoming really real, Jen.
So it's like you have separated what, we think about love as the emotion that goes with it. But what you just described in the Bible mentions love 714 times. And in those 714 times, they don't tell you what the emotion is that goes with it.
It's a decision and a choice.
Thank you for joining us, to everyone in our Be Exponential community. My name is Jennifer Davis, if you don't know who I am, and I am the leader of this organization and also somebody that really was hoping to gain and continue on my path to measuring joy as my measurement of success. So today we are very excited to have relationship expert Jill Savage with us. And Jill, I was introduced to recently. My husband and I did a marriage intensive with her and her husband in early December. So it was kind of crazy leading up to the holidays. Regardless of what type of relationship it is, I think that communication probably far and above has to be the most challenging part of everything that we do. And so I couldn't think of a better way surrounding Valentine's Day and the month of love. The people that we love the most are often the ones that are the hardest to communicate and have relationships with. And so that was the background on the topic. I hope that everyone enjoys the content that we are bringing to you today. And with that, I will allow Jill to take the mic and talk a little bit about why she's an expert. When you take the mic, Jill, I would like to ask you a question. And my question is, I get to preempt everybody else. My question is there a lot of pressure on being a relationship expert? So when you are really sucking at your wife job, your mom job, do you go home at night and you're like, oh, I'm supposed to be an expert?
Well, no, I just think, wow, I have a lot more content to share.
That's great.
It's so funny because I've written 16 books over 25 years, 24 years. But I've written 16 books and people are always like, how do you write so many books? And I say to them, I write books based upon my mistakes. So I've had a lot of mistakes and I've had a lot of lessons learned and opportunities to share. And so, yeah, I do. I think of it that way for sure, because it's like, if I'm struggling with this, then somebody else is going to be struggling with
For
this.
sure.
And so I may need to figure it out first and why I fell into a bad habit again or whatever. But yeah, I just think of it as I've got some great content to
Lots
share.
of content. And that is daunting to hear 16 books. I've written one and I know the work that went into it. So 16 is super impressive as a part of your resume. But talk a little bit about just who you are and then you can take the mic and kind of go through what we're going to talk about today.
Sure. This is a picture of my family, although it isn't the most up-to-date picture, and that's because my family hasn't been together, all of us, for about 5 years, and we've added 3 more grandchildren since that picture. So that's welcome to real life. Part of the reason we have a son that lives in Australia, and so it's difficult for him to get home. We've been to Australia a couple times to see him, and we have a son that struggles with pretty severe mental health issues, and is homeless and struggles as well. And so that is also a part of the reason that we haven't all been together. But I share all of that with you because you look at a picture like this, and you think, wow, it's a great picture. You see the truck you were mentioning there earlier that sits in our yard. And so we see pictures like that. And then what we do is we say, gosh, my family doesn't measure up to that. And what we're doing in those moments is we're comparing our insides to other people's outsides.
Yeah.
And when we do that, we come up with wrong conclusions. So we see a picture like this and we compare the insides of our family to the outsides of another family, and we come up with wrong conclusions, and we tell ourselves a story, and that story simply isn't real. So I'm going to share with you a little bit of the behind the scenes reality today.
Jill, can I interject something and just say, I saw this picture sitting in your house when I was at your house. I did exactly what you described. Exactly. I was like, wow, they're perfect. Every one of them, they're beautiful. They look healthy. They look happy. They look like they just sit around and play bingo every day together. And I was flabbergasted when you started to share some of your story, because that wasn't the story I told myself.
Yes. Thank you for sharing that, Jen, because you're exactly right. We all do this. We do it, especially, I think we do it more now that social media exists. And I love social media. I think that it's connecting us to great information and all of that. But I think that we have this tendency to more easily compare our insides to other people's outsides. And I'll tell you, part of the reason that I think that this happens, my friend Karen Eman says, you used to try to keep up with the Joneses. But the thing is, you saw the Joneses once a week at church on Sunday. Mm-hmm. Now we see the Joneses 10 times a day when we log on to social media. So I think that we really have to be aware of this, and because it is what is robbing us of contentment. It's robbing us of joy, because we are comparing ourselves to something that isn't real. And so I think that we have to be really honest and real with each other, also talking about the hard stuff of life. And ultimately, this is why I wrote 3 books that are kind of along the same lines, but from a different angle. The first one is No More Perfect Moms, where I talk about what I call the perfection infection. And the perfection infection is when we compare our real life to something that isn't real, and we have unrealistic expectations of ourselves, and we sometimes have unrealistic expectations of others. And then I wrote No More Perfect Kids, which is when the perfection infection invades our parenting. Mm-hmm. And we have unrealistic expectations of our kids, or we unfairly compare our kids to others. And then we did No More Perfect Marriages, which is when we have unrealistic expectations of our spouse or of marriage. There you go. Or we have, we unfairly compare our spouse to other spouses that we know only the outside of, not the inside of.